Glenn Beck. I was just on Glenn Beck's show a week or two ago. Glenn Beck, one of maybe the greatest broadcaster alive right now, and just a staple of the American right for a very long time. Glenn Beck just had his podcast removed from Apple. Not one episode of his podcast, not 1 week of his podcasts. The whole thing was removed from the Apple Podcast app. Here he is.
This is from Apple. We found an issue with your show, the Glenn Beck program, which must be resolved before it's available on Apple Podcast. Your show's been removed from Apple Podcast from the Apple Podcast team. They sent us a link and said, for more details, go to the link, and the link only says your show has been removed from Apple Podcasts. Well, we got that one, dummy. I mean, I cannot imagine what they're basing this one on. I mean, have we even had strikes? Nothing, right? This is crazy. You need to please retweet this and start a campaign to Apple to say, put the podcast back on. This is absolutely freedom of speech. There's nothing that we have said that would warrant any removal.
Now, I'm being told that Apple has reinstated Glenn this morning. Okay, that's a good thing, but hasn't given any reason. I think I have the reason. I want to be as charitable as I can. Maybe this happened and it was just a little technical glitch. I just can't help but notice that the technical glitches always only affect the right. The little oopsie daisies, they so rarely seem to affect the left, and they so consistently seem to affect the right. And I can't help but notice what time it is. Can't help but notice that we are, 15 months out from a presidential election. And I can't help but notice that all of the attacks, the way that YouTube has tried to suppress this show, the way that Georgia and New York and the federal government and Biden has tried to suppress the Trump presidential campaign. Can't help but notice the way that Apple now is trying to suppress Glenn Beck. I can't help but think that maybe that timing is more than mere accident, that there's something a little bit more to that coincidence. This is only going to ramp up. And the reason this is going to ramp up is because we have a particularly divided political order right now. And I'm not saying it's divided among the populace 50-50. I'm not convinced that it is. It is increasingly divided between the ruling class and the people, which is why you're seeing populist movements rise up, not just on the right. You had an actual successful populist movement on the right, which was the MAGA movement in the election of Trump in 2016. But you're seeing populism on the left, not just weirdo Ralph Nader, who gets 3% of the vote, but Bobby Kennedy, who's right now polling at 17 to 19% within the Democratic Party. You're seeing a real surge of populism. You're seeing the breakdown of common media. You're now seeing near parity between people who on their TVs watch YouTube and Netflix and people who watch regular old cable news. And even when you add broadcast news into that, it's still less than half the country. So you're seeing a breakdown of that common culture. You're seeing, obviously, a breakdown in the language that we use. We can't even agree on the definition of a man or a woman right now. So, of course, the ruling class is going to get a little bit more heavy-handed. I mentioned this yesterday on the show. They're getting more heavy-handed because there will be order. That's just a fact. And maybe the order will be because people control ourselves, an order a little closer to the political order at the country at its founding, in the political founding in the 18th century. Maybe there will be order because the people don't control themselves, but the states and the local communities get more involved. Maybe it's going to be an overbearing federal bureaucracy. Or maybe it's going to be overbearing corporate apparatchiks, people who control the public square, even though they're not in elected positions or even appointed positions. People like Apple, people like YouTube, people like Facebook. Elon is doing great. But the other, and that's the smallest of the big tech platforms. The other big tech platforms are all on one side, and they're all wielding power because there will be some kind of order. And so we shouldn't be surprised by this. And we shouldn't pull our hair out in befuddlement, and we shouldn't waste all of our breath pointing out the hypocrisy. But imagine if the roles were reversed. But they're not reversed. But this is unfair. It's not supposed to be fair. It's supposed to maintain order. That's what they're doing. That's what they're after. And Glenn Beck threatens that order. And this show, I guess, threatens that order. And Donald Trump for sure threatens that order. And so they're going to do everything they can to stop it. Now, speaking of 2024, some big news in that race, because we are 1 week out. In fact, we're slightly less than 1 week out from the first GOP presidential primary debate. We still don't know if President Trump is going to be at that debate. We still don't know if he's going to be in an orange jumpsuit or not for that debate. Maybe he won't even be able to attend. But he's refused to sign the RNC loyalty pledge, which says that he'll endorse the eventual nominee if he loses. And he's refusing to sign that because he says, well, I don't know if I'm going to endorse the nominee if I lose. And I think everyone's been trying to rig this thing against me since day one. So sorry, forgive me if I don't exactly trust you guys. No, I'm not going to do that. But because he's leading by 30 points, 40 points in some places, the RNC will look ridiculous if they don't allow him to come to the debate. So where does it all stand and where do the non-Trump candidates stand? We'll get to that in 1 second. Right now, go to balanceofnature.com, use promo code Knowles. Living a healthy lifestyle is not always easy, especially when you're always on the go. You need simple, manageable routines to make sure that you are getting proper nutrition every day. That's why I'm a huge fan of Balance of Nature. Balance of Nature fruits and veggies are a great way to make sure you're getting essential nutritional ingredients every single day. Their capsules are packed with 100% whole food that you can take at any time. Balance of Nature uses a cold vacuum process that preserves the natural phytonutrients in whole fruits and veggies and encapsulates them for easy consumption. Balance of Nature sent a bunch of their products down to the studio for our team to try. We all love them. Those jackals try to steal them all away from me. But I think we just need to get Balance of Nature to send more. Make sure you go check it out right now. Go to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code Knowles, K-N-O-W-L-E-S, for 35% off your first order as a preferred customer. That's balanceofnature.com. Promo code Knowles, K-N-O-W-L-E-S, for 35% off your first preferred order. Right now, go to ZipRecruiter.com/Knowles. If you're hiring, you know it's incredibly difficult to attract top talent. And with the current labor market conditions, it's even harder than ever. That is why you're going to want to partner with ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter gets it. ZipRecruiter knows how tough it is right now. They've figured out solutions for the problems that you are facing. Try them for free at ZipRecruiter.com/Knowles, K-N-O-W-L-E-S. To reach more of the right people, ZipRecruiter posts your job to 100 plus job sites. ZipRecruiter's smart technology finds great matches for your job and then lets you invite the most qualified people to apply for your job. Their pricing is really straightforward, and you can stick to your budget with no surprises. Team up with a hiring partner such as ZipRecruiter that understands what you need. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Go to this exclusive web address for free, ZipRecruiter.com/Knowles. That is ZipRecruiter.com/KNOWLES. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. 2024. New poll out from Kaplan. This is the national Republican primary survey. So again, the primary is going to come down to state polls, but still the national stuff tells you something. Trump is at 48%, so 37 points above his next rival. Pretty good place for Trump to be. The next rival, though, is not Ron DeSantis, who had been the number 2 candidate for the whole race. The next rival, Vivek Ramaswamy, who's at 11%, so not exactly close to 48, but still, that's a major, major victory for Ramaswamy. DeSantis, 1 point below at 10%. Pence at 8, which is pretty impressive, actually, given Pence's current tensions within the GOP. Pretty impressive that he's at 8. Christie down at 4. Haley at 4. Scott at 2. Burgum, got the Burgum momentum at 1. Asa Hutchinson at 0, where he belongs. We're still in silly season, of course. The reason a poll like this matters, though, heading into the debate, which we're not very close to, is because it's going to show you who's got mojo. It's going to affect the momentum going into that debate. Had DeSantis been the clear and away number 2 candidate going into the debate, then a lot of the focus would be on him. For better or worse, people might be attacking him, but also he would command a lot of the attention. Now, even if DeSantis is still statistically tied with Vivek, the fact that this guy who came out of nowhere has been able to, according to one poll, actually unseat him as number 2, and according to other polls, at least get somewhere up in the same vicinity, that doesn't look as good for DeSantis. And so people are just going to be looking at other candidates, especially if you're a Republican who hates Donald Trump. you're now going to be more open-minded to the other candidates, whereas perhaps previously you might have thought DeSantis is the guy we've all got to rally around. The momentum here really, really matters. Who has got the mojo? Another candidate is popping up. This is in New Hampshire. Chris Christie is now number 2 in New Hampshire, so he's surpassed Governor DeSantis in New Hampshire. Again, it's statistically tied. Trump is far and away winning. Christie is at 9%. DeSantis is at 8%. Still, this matters because of the mojo and because Christie's going to be in this debate. So if and by the way, who called it? Who freaking called it? I'm now back on the croissants. My gut instinct, I think, may have been right, or at least plausible, which is don't sleep on Christie. I don't think the guy's going to be president, but he could have a moment, especially because he's a good debater. Don't forget that moment when he took out Rubio. He's really adept on his feet. And the other candidates on that stage, Vivek is good. I mean, Vivek is pretty quick-witted in that way. And DeSantis is good. DeSantis gives great speeches. I heard DeSantis give a speech at the Claremont Institute once. I thought it was an excellent, excellent speech. I'm not saying the guy can't talk, but compared to the other candidates on this stage, he is not known for his quick responses, his fast little zingers. He's good at beating up the media in press conferences. He's reasonably good at giving speeches, but that's not where he's going to shine. And so that's why the momentum going into the debate is going to be so important, because especially, I'm just looking at the field here, those two guys, Christie and Vivek, they're going to do pretty well. Whether Trump is there or not, they're going to be more impressive on the debate stage, I predict, than probably anyone else. Man, what a great clip that was. Now, ring that bell. Subscribe to the Michael Knowles Show channel. See you next time.